Real quick, just stepping in to remind everyone that I have a movie channel. Check out my movie channel if you want. It's Jackson Kruger Movies. The link is in the description below, so if you're tired of just hearing my bad sports takes and want to also hear some bad movie takes, make sure you check that out. Again, link is in the description below. All right, 10 worst head coaches. Going with a negative video this time, but in fairness, a decent amount of guys on this list. When I did my tier rankings list of the head coaches, I put them in the who knows tier because that's kind of how I feel about a lot of these head coaches. But still, I think half of the guys on this list have never been a head coach in the NFL before. So how do you measure that? There will certainly be a head coach or two that is on this list that ends up being good. This is not saying these guys can't be good, but it's worth mentioning there's a lot of good head coaches in the league right now. So yeah. That's how I view it. Without further ado, let's get into the 10 worst head coaches in football. Number 10 is, we're kind of, these first few are going to be the coaches that I'm like, okay, you're not a bad head coach. I just think there's better head coaches out there, which is why you're making the list. Eberflus isn't bad. That defensive turnaround was legitimately impressive. And hey, the Bears decided to keep him despite the fact that they made a lot of changes this offseason. That says something. I think the players like him. I still feel like there is, sometimes this offensive side of the ball can leave a lot to be desired. Maybe getting Caleb Williams could change that, certainly. He has a real chance that if they can have a good year, he could win Coach of the Year. I'm sure there's a candidate for that. But again, I think there's some negative aspects I have with him. And the results haven't been great. They just haven't. So, because of that, there's things to like about him, but he did make the list. Number 9, okay, don't get mad at me yet, Raiders fans. Hold on. I know you're already writing your angry comments, but just give me a second to explain. I am not saying I think Antonio Pierce sucks. I think what's interesting about Pierce, and let's start off with the positives with him. He is seemingly the most likable person on the planet. Every single Raiders fan loves Antonio Pierce. Every single player seems to love Antonio Pierce, and that's really valuable. Look at Dan Campbell and how much that's mattered with the Lions. He had some rough game management moments last year. He did. I don't know what else to really make of him. We'll see how well the coordinators hires go and everything for him. That really tends to be what makes or breaks the kind of motivational head coach, but I don't think it's impossible that he could succeed whatsoever. That's why he's high up on this list. But for a guy who I've only seen coach a few games, hey, he beat Mahomes, and I think that's probably part of why he got the job was the Raiders beating Mahomes. But I want to see more, so that's why he's at number 9. Number 8, I did go Todd Bowles here, who, again, there's things to like about him. Defensive X's and O's are consistently great. And if he does get fired by Tampa Bay after this year, he'll instantly, once again, become a top 5 defensive coordinator because he's great at that. A couple critiques I have, but again, you're never going to bat 1,000. It's very good. And I think the issues last year were more so talent issues and injury issues in the secondary than him being poor. Game management's really rough. Offensive side of the ball has been really rough. He did get a Coach of the Year vote, which was weird last year. So good for him, I suppose. But yeah, there are enough issues. I'm willing to put him at 8. Another guy players seem to like, which matters. Number 7, Dennis Allen, who players don't seem to like that much. I mean, because there was that whole thing with the Jameis Winston. Dennis Allen telling him no, you have to take a kneel down. Winston ignored him and decided to score a touchdown. And then all the players defended Jameis Winston, so that's not ideal. Again, offensive coaching often leaves a lot to be desired. Not the best game management. Like Todd Bowles, though, really good. Really good X's and O's defensively. And he's another guy who, if he does get fired by the Saints, honestly, feels like the Saints should just say, you know what? We're demoting you. We're putting you back to defensive coordinator and putting another head coach in there. And Sean Payton should come back. Sean Payton's probably having a bad time in Denver. Just come back. Okay, it is, one of those breakups where it's you break up and a month later you're like, why did we do that? Let's just get back together. That's what Sean Payton and the Saints should do. Dennis Allen's better as a coordinator. I don't know. There's things to like about him enough that I didn't, with the defense, that I didn't put him higher than the guys who we haven't seen coach before. But, that's it. So he's at 7. Number 6, we're now getting into the guys who are new head coaches. Everyone left on this list is a new head coach, although one of them has coached before. But I still think it's, I thought about should I just exclude these guys, but I thought, it's still interesting enough. And plus, then I'd have like guys who I think are in the top half of the league still being on my top 10 worst head coaches list, so decided to include them. Raheem Morris is number 6. Again, I think there's things to like about Raheem Morris. I do have him as the highest on these new hires because I think that he got a raw deal in Tampa Bay. Did get 10 wins with Josh Freeman, and was kind of just in over his head. I don't really hold that against him. Really good X's and O's with the Rams. We have usually seen guys in the Sean McVay coaching tree thrive. Now, an exception was Brandon Staley, who was a defensive coordinator, so that's the question. Obviously, I'm not a fan of hiring defensive coordinators typically, but I think he should be all right for Atlanta. Number 5 is Mike Macdonald. So the Ravens, who are another, well-run organization. That's where he comes from. He was defensive coordinator there. Kind of a lot of the similar things I said about Morris. Macdonald, love the X's and O's. Think he should be, pretty good, but he is a defensive coordinator. Don't always love those types of hires, but as a whole, definitely we'll see how it goes. Number 4 is Dan Quinn, who, I'll give this to Dan Quinn. When he got fired by the Atlanta Falcons and the Cowboys, picked him up, he did really get a lot better when it came to the, defensive coaching. I thought his defensive coaching was pretty bland in Atlanta and got a lot better with Dallas. Now, still had his struggles, especially in the postseason, and I'm a little surprised he got a head coaching job. Obviously, he's not known for his great game management, and it didn't go particularly well in Atlanta when he didn't have Kyle Shanahan there. So I think still number 4, but I guess, while he probably wouldn't have been the guy I hired, I am interested in seeing how it works out. Number 3, Dave Canales of the, formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, formerly of the Seattle Seahawks, and that's why the Panthers got him, is, hey, you got Geno Smith, who kind of looked like a career backup, to, legitimately play better. Geno Smith was even better last year when he didn't have Canales, although I think Smith was at his best 2 years ago with Canales. But still, you got a really good year out of Geno Smith and was able to help him legitimately improve as a player. Then you go to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay says, well, we saw what you did with Geno Smith. Let's give you a coordinator job. We have Baker Mayfield. Maybe you can do something there. We have Kyle Trask. Maybe you can do something there. With Trask, I don't know if it worked out, but with Mayfield, it certainly did. He got a good year out of Baker Mayfield. He's getting quarterbacks a lot of money, Canales, because both Smith and Mayfield got pretty heavily paid, after that. Not massive deals, but big deals. So now the Panthers are like, well, we need a guy who can help out Bryce Young. Let's get him as a guy who can help out Bryce Young. There are some issues with Canales. I did not love the X's and O's last year. They were at times really good, but at times they would make you pull your hair out. There was a point when he was a target enemy number 1 for Tampa Bay. I mean, what a second half of the season he had. He went from being out of a job that was going to be his only shot as a coordinator to getting a head coaching gig. I mean, incredible stuff by him, but he earned it with what he did with the quarterback development. That's just not enough to outweigh the other side of the coin for me, but I get why the Panthers hired him, just because that's what they need right now. And who knows? Again, these are guys, we have no idea how successful they'll be. We're all kind of just guessing here. Number 2, the Titans hired Brian Callahan, which, again, maybe he's just a good interviewer. Maybe he has something that, I'm not aware of. Was the, offensive coordinator for the Bengals, although worth mentioning, he did not call plays with the Bengals. So, bit of a, usually you have to call plays before you can get a head coaching gig. That didn't happen. That doesn't always happen. But I don't really know what to make of him. It's just, if I had to make a decision based on just what I know, he would not have been the guy I hired. Now, again, they're not making a decision based on just what I know. There's a lot of extensive interviews, and maybe he has some really good ideas that they trust. But for now, he's number 2. And number 1 is Jerod Mayo. Sorry, Kyle, if you're watching. I do have him as my worst head coach in football. Again, who knows if this stuff seems like another guy similar to Antonio Pierce. People like him. And there's a lot of value in being a likable guy. Players will want to play for you, all of that good stuff. I just don't, let's just be honest. When has a disciple of the New England Patriots worked. Like, it's very rare that you even have some success. Like, Bill O'Brien was like the success point, right? Doesn't work out too often. Maybe he'll do it differently, as he's kind of inheriting the team. But these things typically don't work out too well. I also feel like the Patriots were kind of behind the eight ball these past couple years, and I would have liked a more forward-thinking coach. Kyle talked about how there was rumors that essentially there was just a handshake deal that Mayo would get the coaching job once Belichick was gone, and so now they're kind of locked into that, which, I don't know, that's not ideal if that's the case, but who knows? Again, just because I have him here, these things change all the time. It's all a guessing game. So Jerod Mayo, if you're watching this video, don't seem like I'm like, oh, definitely not going to succeed. You totally could. But hey, Mayo, while you're here, hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate it. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.